So today we're doing something that I said not I don't know 48 hours ago is an exercise that I think is stupid, a waste of time. And no, so I'm going to give my top 50 players in the NBA right now in this episode. I don't think it's a waste of time for me. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because it forced me to ask myself some difficult questions and to test my presumptions, assumptions, biases, things of that nature in grouping players together and generally into tiers. So like what I'm going to give you is my tiers roughly in the order that I have them. But the important thing for me is the tiers. And that was a worthy process. I promise I'm not going to drone on about this because I spoke about it the other night on live stream, but like, I don't know. These lists are like what to rank somebody 67 and another person 75 and another person 80, like really? Like this is the best way that we're spending our time. I don't know. I just feel very conflicted about this.
So we just wrapped up a 5-part series called I Know the Knicks because it's the off season and there's not much to talk about. And the way we decided to do it and fill the time was to come up with a game show and test trivia. And then next year during the off season, it's going to be even more difficult because there's not much trivia to do. And like you said, it will be longer. I have taken most of what we've seen the last couple of weeks and you've hit on it. All of these clickbait headlines with here's a list as it's clickbait. It's to fill the time until real headlines and actual basketball is to be talked about. And full transparency. It's one of the reasons why we're doing this list. However, we've had fun doing lists like this before. You beat it a Hall of Fame.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it very much putting it together.
Plus, during
fun. Yeah.
You did a top 40 during the playoffs when Simmons and Russillo did theirs. And I was like, I bet you John could come up with one that was pretty good too. So we're fresh off your top 40. And now we get an updated 50 like 2 months later.
That was a top 50 players who I wanted. So it's two differences. One, it was only players in the playoffs. And two, it was the top 50 players who I wanted for my playoff run.
It was not only players in the playoffs.
Are you sure?
I am positive. You had LeBron James in your top 5. We did that in the 3rd round. That was your top 42 day. Now, the criteria might have been like who will help me win a championship, which is why Trey was in your top 12 or 13. But you had Giannis toward the bottom. I'm going to guarantee he's much higher now.
I remember I had Giannis just outside of my top 10 and
Steph Curry in your top 5 did not make the playoffs last year. Dame Lillard outside your top 5.
Oh, we're going to have to put a pin in this when I come back to it. Cause I have a different, and again, putting my recollection up against that of a 90-year-old man at this point. The 90-year-old would probably win. I can't remember shit. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I'm going to do a little digging. Okay. So this is a top 50. Again, broken into tiers. The very big difference that I'm going to say between myself and anybody else who's put out these lists, I don't think that I'm right necessarily. This is my opinion. I welcome anyone listening in the on Twitter. You know where to find me in the Patreon comments. Like, please disagree. You guys know that I don't feel like I'm the arbiter of all things, but what I do feel like is someone that I will. I'll give you my honest opinion, and of course, this has been thought out. Whether it's right, no, I don't know. We'll see. So, how do you want to start?
Well, obviously, your top tier is how we can do that. Down.
Okay.
Yeah, going from the top, and then we go ahead on the way down.
So,
best way to do these lists.
So immediately, I'm going to give the caveat that at the very top, the top tier was nearly impossible for me to rank, and actually was kind of impossible for me to rank because my first tier is anyone in this tier you could say is the best player in the NBA. And I think there is an argument, and not just like a squint and like really like rack your brain, like a real legitimate, oh yeah, that guy's the best player in the NBA. Like very simple argument. So Here are the names in the order that I have them written down. You ready?
Ready.
There are 7 names, and then last thing before we go. If someone is injured now, and that injury is likely going to keep them out for at a significant portion of the season, they will not be part of the ranking, but I will note where I probably would have had them ranked had they been healthy. Okay.
Which I think matters. And people, when they get upset about these lists, is like, how could you not have this person? So what if they're hurt? You're going off of where we are today. I got in trouble a couple years ago with our friend of the pod, Mr. CP. Shout out Eli Manning, by the way, making the Ring of Honor at Giant Stadium. And in fitting fashion, the Giants lost by the score of Super Bowl 42, Eli Manning's first Super Bowl win. CP, I got in trouble with him in his comment section a few years back because I had LeBron, I think, 8th on a top list, and was like, he's probably like now the 8th best player in the league. And I said that the year that he ended his season early with the Lakers.
Sure.
Because he got hurt. And it's like, you now have to account for the fact that 5 people were voted ahead of him for MVP. And then Kawhi and Kevin Durant are factored in. That's 7. If I say LeBron's 8th, that's because right now he's 8th. But as new information comes in, as your list is probably about to show us, you recalculate, you reevaluate, and you come up with a new list.
Well, like for anybody who like hears whoever I have 5th or 6th or 7th, and they're like, you're an idiot, that person should be first. I don't disagree. If you have them first, they're first. Okay, so here it is. Kevin Durant. I guess I should say a number with them. Number 1, Kevin Durant. Number 2, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 3, Luka Doncic. Number 4, Nikola Jokic. Number 5, the aforementioned LeBron James.
Okay.
Number 6, Steph Curry. And number 7, I struggle. This is the only one I struggle with a little bit, but I had to put him here because I'm still kind of high on this guy, Joel Embiid. And then in parentheses, again, he doesn't have a rank because he's not playing this year, probably at all, is Kawhi Leonard. That's top tier.
Those are the 8. Those are the 8, I think. There's one guy, if he got hot, I think would enter the conversation, which I'm sure he's going to be toward the top of your next tier. But those are the 8. I think you're close to the same order I would have. I would have Steph. This is sacrilege. I'd have Steph above LeBron, but that's just me. And it's not even
why is that sacrilege?
Because it's LeBron James. My understanding is that if you put him lower on any list than 1, 2, 3, you have 5 and you're going to get hate for this. And I'm saying you're allowed to say that a 37-year-old is not in his prime anymore. I think he's going to take a lot of time off this year because he knows those last 3 months of the season matter in the playoffs. I think Durant, just very briefly go one by one. One of the guys I have ahead of him won the MVP, and won the MVP. It should have been unanimous. And I'm not going to get into a whole advanced stats discussion, but if you look at the numbers associated with Nikola Jokic last season, it was him and there's everybody else. There was no competition. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant, I don't know what more he needed to prove than what he proved in the playoffs. Giannis Antetokounmpo's 2-time MVP who won the championship last year, having 50 points in game, whatever it was, 6. And then Luka's the one guy, if you want to be like, you have Luka above LeBron, you're an idiot. I'm kind of all in on Doncic, so maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. I don't even think you need to go to advanced stats for Jokic, by the way. Like he averaged 26, 10, and 8 on like 60 true shooting. And I guess the one advanced stat that people go to is PER, and he had a 31,
which is a ridiculous advanced stat.
It's a 31.36 advanced. That's his PER last year, 31.36, which is up there with one of the highest PERs of all time. So if you put any stock in that, Doncic absolutely should be on this list.
Oh,
I don't either. Not Doncic. Jokic should absolutely be on this list, higher than LeBron.
Doncic, I don't think his team's very good. And for all we know, if they had snuck past the Clippers last season, I don't know. It would have been interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. Tier 2. These are the guys that I have, and this is where the controversy will probably begin. These are the guys who I think are contenders for first team All-NBA, which is to say, if they went out and they had the sort of season that they're capable of having, and their teams had the sort of season that their teams are capable of having, I think they could make it. this list could probably be broken into 2 tiers, but I'm just going to group them all together. Again, it's 7 guys. So number 8, Dame Lillard.
You did 8. You did 8 already.
No.
Oh, that's right. You had Kawhi.
I'm not counting Kawhi.
Your 8th. That's right. Okay, so your 8th is. Sorry.
Okay, my 8th, Dame Lillard. 9, Anthony Davis. 10, James Harden. Here's where we'll start to get a little interesting. 11, Jason Tatum. 12, Jimmy Butler. 13, Devin Booker. And 14, I don't really want to say his name, Trae Young.
Okay. So my memory is decent. So that is an unintentional shot at you, but
I think it was pretty intentional.
I'm just saying,
intentional.
I specifically remember the top 40 list you gave me, and Donovan Mitchell was ahead of a lot of guys that you just named. Yeah. So I'm wondering what happened in your change of philosophy with Donovan Mitchell.
I think, well, let me just say, I don't think I ever had, if I had Donovan Mitchell above Dame, Anthony Davis, or Harden, that I don't think I did. I probably had Mitchell ahead of, you're shaking your head.
You had him ahead of Devin Booker, which was the discussion we had.
And Devin Booker just went to a finals and hit some huge shots along the way. Is there some recency bias here? Yeah, absolutely. There's some recency bias here, but like Devin Booker I personally am of the opinion, like, do they do what they do without Chris Paul? Of course they didn't do what they do without Chris Paul. Not to mention advancements from DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, the whole thing. But Devin Booker was the best guy on a finals team, as far as I'm concerned, and Trae Young was the best guy on a conference finals team. That shit matters. And like, it's not like they struggled along the way. I mean, yeah, you could point to a couple games. Maybe Booker didn't shoot it well in the finals, but like, it's the finals against a team that's a really good defense. And then Tatum and Jimmy Butler. I'm just very high on Jason Tatum. I think this is the year it comes together. And Jimmy Butler, I don't know. What do I have to say about Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler's fucking amazing. Mm-hmm. It's probably disrespectful to have him this low, but here he is.
So do you want to know where you had Mitchell? I have your list in front of me now.
I probably had him around 11 or 12.
You had him 9th.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so I will say this was during round 2 of the playoffs. So Booker hadn't ascended to the finals yet. You had
early in round 2. Early in round 2.
You had Giannis 12th behind, right there in tier 3 with Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum. So it was those 4 in tier 3. So this was during, I want to say he was just down 2-0 to the Nets. And we were wondering if Giannis would be the next to ask for a trade, which now that we know more about Giannis was never going to happen. So reevaluating your list, Mitchell's taken the biggest drop so far, and Booker has made the biggest leap in your evaluations, it looks like. But you're true to your top 14 though.
And I want to be very clear. I don't think I'm still incredibly high on Donovan Mitchell. And the thing if it hasn't become clear already, like, if I have someone in this, like, any of these guys can have better seasons than most of the players in like the first year. They could also have worse seasons than the guys that I'm about to say in the next year. Like, these things are pretty fluid, and these guys are really close at this level of the sport. And we're going to get to, in my mind, there's going to be not a drop off, but like something of a line of demarcation that we're going to be coming to pretty soon. And like Donovan Mitchell is above that line of demarcation. I was higher on him after the previous playoffs in the bubble, which, who knows? All right.
Which ironic, because he made it further in the playoffs this year than he did the bubble.
True.
But he had
he showed
more
out.
Impressive performance. Yeah, that 7-game series was more impressive against the bubble. Just one note about Giannis, that he was 12th when we last did this. This is what happens when you have the finals he did. You go from being like a right outside tier 2 guy, where you're wondering if he'll ever actually matter come playoff time.
Yeah.
Going forward, to a champion he's celebrated and a top 3 name going forward. Because now the question of, can you win a championship with Giannis being your team's best player, has been answered.